The Sound of Doubt podcast is also available to listen to on iTunes, Spotify, and Audible. So if you want to listen to your podcast, you can go check it out there. If not, what's up, guys?
Creating maternity flight suits, updating requirements for their hairstyles.
Creating maternity flight suits. Maybe those suits have been around for a while. We'd never heard of them. But here was the President of the United States promoting them at a press conference. And that phrase stuck out. Not because we have some hateful bias against pregnant women flying military jets. We're pro-pregnancy, as we often say. We're also open-minded. Maybe pregnant women make the best pilots. The Department of Defense measures everything, so there's got to be extensive research on this question. If the Pentagon can show that pregnant pilots are the best, we will be the first to demand an entire Air Force of pregnant pilots. The problem is we're pretty confident that Joe Biden hasn't asked to see those numbers. We'd bet money that Joe Biden never even thought to ask. The rest of us depend on the U.S. military to protect our families and protect the country itself. But Joe Biden doesn't see it that way. Finding the most effective military pilots or infantry officers or SEAL teams is not his priority. It's not even close to his priority. Identity politics is Joe Biden's priority. It's all that matters.
Tucker Carlson is right. You know how I know that? Let me tell you how I know that. Beyond simply just the common sense aspect of, well, pregnant women probably shouldn't be flying fighter jets. I mean, that sounds kind of insane to me. You know, pregnant women are not even supposed to be flying on airplanes past a certain point. And yet, our U.S. military wants to create special suits for them to be flying fighter jets? Like, I'm pretty sure if the altitude changes and stuff of a regular commercial airplane are a danger, I can only imagine the G-forces and what the hell? I mean, that just sounds crazy to me. And I'm pretty sure your doctor probably doesn't want you to be flying a fighter jet while you're pregnant. But beyond simply, that just seems to make sense to me. But beyond simply that aspect of it, you know how I really know Tucker is right? Is based on the actual response of the U.S. military leadership, okay? Because clearly you could see they were livid at Tucker Carlson. The leadership of the U.S. military ran an entire, basically a targeted, planned out smear campaign against the cable news host for simply asking the wrong questions about U.S. military practices. Now, don't get me wrong. If it were General Patton and General Eisenhower, leading the U.S. military, and they were out here saying, all right, guys, we got to put pregnant women in the Mustangs, okay? We got to have pregnant women flying the Mustang and the Corsair. Well, I guess that would be Admiral Nimitz, World War II nerd moment. But we got to have pregnant women flying the Mustang. I would be like, sir, yes, sir, I trust you, okay? Whatever you say, we're doing it, okay? But you know why? Because General Patton and General Eisenhower, people like that, led our military to greatness, okay? And these are proven, effective leaders that fought some of the toughest battles in world history and won them for the United States. And Godspeed to them. But that is not who is running the U.S. military now. That is not what the leadership of the U.S. military now looks like. Thanks to the failed leadership currently of the people currently leading the Pentagon, the people currently leading the U.S. military. Let's face it, folks, the United States has not been able to decisively win a single war since 9/11, and quite frankly, since before 9/11. Okay? And it's not exactly for lack of trying. You look at the current people running the U.S. military, and you really have to ask yourself, are they exactly beacons of credibility? Because, of course, you have, CNN articles basically saying, trusted military leadership refutes Tucker Carlson. And it's like, really? How trusted? How much should we really be trusting the current leadership of the U.S. military? And, of course, you saw this ad campaign against Tucker Carlson saying, well, Tucker, you never served in the military. Tucker has no idea what he's talking about. And we should listen to the generals. We should listen to the people in the Pentagon. They are the experts on the issue. Okay, so don't question their practices. And it's like, no, I will question your practices, actually. Because these are the people The people leading the U.S. military, okay, the leadership of the U.S. military. I'm not talking about our soldiers. I'm talking about the leadership of the U.S. military leading this campaign against Tucker Carlson. These are the people who have led the U.S. into foreign policy disaster after foreign policy disaster for decades. Okay, these people who are now after Tucker Carlson, these are the people who have led us into these disasters in Iraq, in Afghanistan, and Syria, and Libya, and other countries around the world. That is this generation of U.S. military leadership. This generation of U.S. military leadership, far gone from greats like Patton and Eisenhower, are frankly either incompetent or corrupt. It's one or the other. I honestly think they're probably more corrupt than they are incompetent. But regardless, the people running currently in charge of the U.S. military do not exactly have the best track record, you know? And so considering the fact that these are the people who keep leading the U.S. into foreign policy disaster, let me ask this question, because obviously, you know, you have CNN and all these people saying like, oh, trust the experts. The expert class clearly knows what they're doing. The ruling class clearly knows what they're doing in the United States of America. How about instead of that? How about instead of automatically trusting our military leadership, we actually start questioning why exactly they keep leading the United States into disaster after disaster after disaster, and why they continue to make the United States look like a complete global laughingstock with every single new foreign policy blunder. Okay? So before I will embrace these new woke practices in the military, such as lowering the standards so that we can get more female soldiers into the military, right? Or such as having pregnant women fly fighter jets, okay? And by getting rid of a lot of aspects of the meritocracy, as you see Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin now currently working on, before I automatically assume that, like, this is good, okay, guys, look, these social justice woke measures in the military, guys, they know what's best, okay? Clearly they know what's best. Again, I do not trust the leadership of our military, and you should not either. If you do trust the leadership of the military, you're literally crazy at this point. You mean to tell me that we shouldn't ask these questions, like, what the hell's going on here, to the people? Okay, the leadership of our military are the people who have been leading the U.S. into disaster after disaster and disaster, as I've said, okay? Their track record here has been terrible. Absolutely terrible. And yet I'm supposed to sit here, shut up, and say, nope, the Pentagon must know what they're doing, guys. They must know clearly what they're talking about. Seriously, before we embrace, you know, funded by our tax dollars, by the way, so before we embrace stupid social justice nonsense and critical race theory being taught at West Point, why don't we actually ask, is this going to work? Okay, because I don't, you know, is this going to beat China? Okay, is having pregnant women going to fly these fighter jets and affirmative action in the military? Is that going to help us beat China and actually, you know, have a strong military and strengthen our position in the world? Of course. Why would it? Okay, because the people who are implementing these practices are the people, for the past few decades, the same career leadership establishment in the Pentagon. Those are the same people who have been progressively weakening the United States' standing in the world. Year after year, it slowly erodes, okay? And yet suddenly, we should trust them when they say, okay, guys, don't worry, guys. Actually, affirmative action in the military is going to make us stronger, and actually getting rid of the meritocracy in the military, that's going to make us stronger. Like, yeah. Listen, this is not like college admissions anymore. And don't get me wrong, that's kind of important to society too, but this is not stuff like that anymore. We're talking about the US military, okay? Defense is literally one of the most basic functions of government. That is the last place where you want stupid woke diversity quotas and all this nonsense, and yet here it is, and we're not supposed to question it because we should trust the leadership and we should trust the experts. Well, I say no. I will ask these questions, okay? And I know immediately what people are going to say, okay? I know what some people are going to say. They're going to say, well, Vince, You're criticizing the troops? Vince, you're saying you don't support the troops? Oh, how unpatriotic of you. What kind of conservative are you? Yeah, shut up, neocon. Go suck off the Heritage Foundation, okay? Seriously, go suck off the Heritage Foundation, okay? And go and hang out with Bill Kristol and John Bolton and all your buddies, and you guys can all share a cocktail. Shut up. Get the hell out of here. I am supporting the troops, okay? Let's get that straight here, folks. I am supporting the troops. As a matter of fact, I support our troops so much that I don't believe they should be sent to die in pointless foreign wars for the political cause of a bunch of fools in Washington, okay? I support the troops so much that I care about their lives, and I don't believe American blood, okay, our American blood, the blood of our young people with entire lives ahead of them, I don't believe that should be sacrificed for the corrupt interests of the military-industrial complex, of oil companies, of defense companies, and of the political establishment in Washington, D.C. that has destroyed our freaking country. That's what I believe. That's where I stand, okay? So let's get it clear. I support the troops. I don't support the military leadership that is forcing critical race theory and diversity quotas down those poor soldiers' throats and then sending them to die in some stupid war for oil. I do not support that, and no type of real patriot, I don't think, can support that, okay? I'm not here to judge your patriotism or whatever, but I am here to say that if you're just going to sit by and allow a bunch of corrupt bureaucrats and a bunch of corrupt officials in the Pentagon to send our soldiers to die for no reason, are you really that much of a patriot? Okay? I think a real patriot stands up to the military-industrial complex because the military-industrial complex is working against the interests of the American people, okay, and of the American nation, okay? You have this globalist George H.W. Bush, New World Order, one world government that they're trying to basically ultimately achieve here. And alongside that is the destruction of the American nation state. Yeah. So-called patriots are supposed to just sit by and not say anything about it. Well, I say no, okay? Number one, I will trust the current leadership of the U.S. military and trust that they must know what they're doing. Once they actually either, I don't know, how about this? Let's say once we actually win a war, like decisively, not declare victory in Afghanistan after 25 freaking years or however long we're going to end up being there, but let's say we actually win a war decisively, okay? Or let's just say we make a smart foreign policy decision for once. Then at that point, maybe I'll consider regaining my trust in our military leadership, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen here, folks, okay? But I'll trust them if that's the case, if that happens. But I can tell, okay, now that we've established that the people leading the U.S. military are corrupt, they're crooks, they don't really have the interests of our soldiers or of our country or of our people at heart. Now that we've established that, so we've established that these are not good people, okay? And yes, I am making a judgment on a lot of their moral characters, but, you know, even let's say, I don't know, they really believe they're doing the right thing. I don't know if they do, but let's say they really believe they're doing the right thing. Even if that's the case, they're not doing good, okay? They're not doing good by our country or by our people or by our soldiers, okay? So now that we've established that they're not doing the right thing here, what does it say that they lead a targeted smear campaign against the TV host, against a cable news host for asking the wrong questions? What does it say that you have official U.S. military Twitter accounts getting into an immature internet war with a cable news host? When does that ever happen? Okay? Hell, it sure as hell didn't happen during the Iraq War, when you had CNN and the Washington Post, New York Times, all this liberal media, basically after the Bush administration and after the military for it, okay? Really, you didn't even see this happen during Vietnam, which is like, that one is self-explanatory, okay? The press and the military had a very antagonistic relationship. Didn't really see stuff like this. I know Twitter wasn't around back then, but still. But suddenly now, you have a targeted smear campaign against Tucker Carlson because he asked the wrong questions to the military-industrial complex. And what does that tell you? since we've established that the military-industrial complex is not doing good by our people, that tells you that Tucker Carlson was indeed asking the right questions, okay? He was asking the right questions. The questions that the corrupt few ruining our U.S. military did not want asked, did not want people to be considering in their brains, because it might just make people consider, hey, maybe the top brass in the U.S. military doesn't exactly know what they're doing, and maybe the top brass in the military actually has been infiltrated by politics, and maybe these people should be replaced or something, right? Are you picking it up here? They don't want their practices questioned. They don't want their methods questioned, because clearly, once you start asking basic rudimentary questions about what these people are doing, okay, not good. Okay, not good. They're not happy about it. Okay, because clearly it is a present threat to them. And that's how I know Tucker is doing the right thing. That's how I know Tucker is asking the right questions to our U.S. military, because the U.S. military themselves, they're not exactly happy with what Tucker Carlson is questioning of them. And that's how I know. You know? It tells you a lot. It tells you a lot, right? So, with that being said, guys, clearly Tucker Carlson is asking the right questions, and clearly the military-industrial complex is livid because of it. And by the way, by the response of the U.S. military, the U.S. military leadership, I should say, that just tells you that Tucker Carlson was right, okay? His point was proven correct. The military has been overrun by politics, partly by neoconservative politics and partly mainly at this point, by woke politics, okay? It's this weird union of the two. And spoiler alert for populist conservatives, paleo conservatives, America First conservatives, MAGA conservatives, just people that don't believe that the United States should be a global empire. Spoiler, a woke global empire, I should say, a woke global empire. Spoiler alert for all of us. The politics that have overrun the U.S. military are not on our side, okay? They're not our politics. They're the politics of our opponents, and spoiler alert, it's not going to end well, okay? And with that being said, folks, we should be doing something about this. You know, I don't exactly think what they're doing is exactly going to help us beat China. Okay, all I'm going to say. That being said, that'll do it for this podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening on a listening platform, be sure to subscribe. If you're on iTunes, be sure to give it a 5-star rating. And until next time, remember to subscribe to join the VinceDao Empire. And I'll see you guys next time. Remember, until then, alpha moves only. Peace. Hey guys, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to like and subscribe, and be sure to click some of the stuff on my left for some more awesome content. Also, to follow me on social media, check out my podcast, and some more awesome stuff, be sure to check out the links down in my description. All right? Peace.